once you build credibility and you learn how to influence them, influence is not just, I'm telling you because I'm smart and I have this degree and have PSI. No, influence can say, I am here to make your life easier. I
Mm.
am here so you can go focus on other things while I tackle this person who's resistant or this $50 million project for you. With people comes personality. So while I enjoy change management, sometimes I don't enjoy the people. And I'll be completely honest with you. But I have to remind myself that people bring outside things to work. You may not see it, but it can
Yes.
come in terms of their mindset, comes with exhaustion, burnout, family illness, divorce, whatever it is people are going through, they bring it. And that is not the fun side of change. You're just dealing with human energy.
Welcome to Change Leadership Conversations, where we dive into what it takes to lead change in today's disruptive and fast paced world. I'm Yvonne Ruke Akpoveta, the founder of the Change Leadership. We create change leadership workshops, content, courses, and community. My guest today is Etonia Collier, whose journey into change management began not with a perfect resume, but with deep curiosity, courage, and conviction. Welcome, Etonia. Great to have you joining us today for the Change Leadership Conversations.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
We've been talking about this maybe for about a year, so glad we could do it. Etonia, when I look at your journey, you've done from economics, professor, teaching, innovation, change management, fintech, enterprise change management. Let's start from the very beginning. How did you get into change management?
Oh, that's an interesting story. So I'll start from the very beginning. So I studied economics and I also studied psychology. And my life was about data and spreadsheets and policies. And I thought to myself, this is not exciting. This was not exciting to me. I loved people. I loved transformation. I loved change. So I was curious and I knew a change management individual in the organization where I was working. And what she was doing was so interesting to me to the point where when I go back to my work, I was like, why am I doing this? Right? So, because of that curiosity, I explored more. I asked a lot of questions. I said to myself, this is exactly what I wanted to do because it aligned so well with my interests, but not only that, my personality. And because of that curiosity, I took some courses in adult education. I read some books about change management, and then I applied. And luckily, the manager saw something in me because it was a complete shift in my career. But at that point, instead of selling my resume, I sold myself, what I could be, how I could help. And I also infused it with my personal life was I grew up in a war zone and you have to be resilient. You have to lead with empathy. Change is inevitable when you grow up in a war zone because you always have to survive, right? So, because of that story and that conviction and that curiosity, I ended up switching into change management 10 years ago. And best decision I have ever made. And I love every ups and every downs of it all.
We're going to come to the ups and the downs of
Oh, there has been many.
Two things jumped out at me when you were speaking and sharing your story. One of it was curiosity. So let's put a pin in that. I want to come back to the pin. For somebody who just listened to the later part of what you said, you spoke about you did not sell your resume. You sold your story, you sold yourself, you sold your experience. And you find, yes, they're saying there's so much change happening right now, and there's so much need for change managers. But you see people wanting to transition into change management. And you could argue that the supply is even higher than the demand now for change management, even though it should be the flip side because of all of the change that is going on. How would somebody who wants to get into the field of change management, or they don't have that resume, but they have that passion, they have that curiosity like you did, they have that desire, they love the change management field, what would be your advice to them?
I think a couple things. One, ask yourself, why is it that you want to get into change? Because what you think change management is may not be what it truly is. There's a lot of storytelling that's involved. There's a lot of empathy that I've said. People are sometimes having a bad day and you have to resist the change and you have to support them through it. So it's not a metrics driven in the typical way, it's an human driven. You have to lead with empathy. You have to learn how to listen. You have to learn how to influence people. So if you're the type of person that does not have patience, practice patience first before you get into change management. The second thing I would say is you don't typically have to always go to school to get a degree to do what you want to do. What I mean by that is if you know someone in your current workplace that's doing communication, that's doing training, that's doing strategy work, those are all elements that you can learn from someone else before you even take that on yourself. So you can always ask your fellow colleagues, hey, can I help you with that communication strategy? You're going to present to a leadership. Can I help you with that deck? Can I help you do X, Y, and Z? Because change management is a component of so many different things. And
Mhm.
sometimes when people want to go into change management, there are so many things that they have not learned or those skills that they have not acquired. So
Yeah.
you can learn the minor skills first, accumulate them before then you can then go into change management and then you can use those examples of where you led leadership calls, where you've created a communication plan, how you've helped someone assist with transformation. You can
Mhm.
be your own change champion first before you even go into change management. Because if you cannot be a change champion and advocate for a change, it'll be very hard for you then to influence someone to advocate for change. So, all those things that your manager voluntold you to do and you didn't want to do it, put up a happy face sometimes and do it with positivity and then influence people because that is pretty much what you might end up doing in the long run. So always take those small bite-sized things, accumulate it, and then you can even go before you even think of going into change management.
So you get voluntold, and sometimes you have to find it. Let's talk about curiosity a little bit. How has curiosity helped you in finding those opportunities if you're not being voluntold, or even if you don't have those opportunities in your organization? And the other part of curiosity as well, how does that help you in leading change and managing change?
Yeah, for sure. So the very first thing is how do I find opportunity with curiosity? The very first thing is when you're doing your career development plan, what is it that you want to accomplish in the next year or two? Then you can sit down with your managers to say, hey, I want to do this type of project, whether it's AI, whether it's transformation, whether it's product driven. And when I say curiosity, you also have to be able to articulate what you
Mm,
want. So many times people are very cautious and they're very scared to say, hey, I am actually interested in this because they might think if you verbalize it, someone might perceive that to say she's not currently interested in what she's doing. But that's not the case. You have to articulate what it is that you're curious or you want to do. The second thing I would say is find mentors who can help you transition and who
mm,
would advocate for you to say, hey, Etonia is interested in digital transformation. Talk to different digital product owners, digital architects, software developers, something outside of what you're currently doing and just learn. And I think that's really, really important. Talk to people who are different from your day-to-day work and see what it is that they're doing. Because sometimes we are often infused with just change management and leadership and trainers, but you have to learn how to work with PMs, product owners, solution architects. When you start to understand a different world, you would also understand how they think, what matters to them, and how you can infuse what matters to them into your own world. So that's something I would advise someone to do.
Before we go into using curiosity as a skill set in terms of when it comes to leading and managing change, I want to take you back a little bit, which is around have a discussion with your manager, have mentors. What about that person who A, doesn't have a supportive manager, or B, maybe they're in a small organization where they don't even do things like that, or they don't have the opportunities for mentors. I like what you said, and maybe we can go a little bit deeper on that. Find people. So you can always find people outside of your organization to be mentors. But what happens to a person who is in a smaller organization or doesn't even have those opportunities within their organization to do something like that, and they want to get into change management?
I was that person actually, not in change management, but just something else I wanted to do. And that's where teaching came into existence. So I'll tell you a story about myself. I wanted to influence people. I wanted to be a people manager, right? So I wanted to lead a group of people, grow them, grow their skills. But I found that there was no opportunity where I was at that time. And what I did was I looked outside the organization. So sometimes I think to myself, we're oftentimes thinking organization is the end all be all. It's where we need to grow our careers. Therefore, that's where the opportunity needs to come. But that's not always the case. You can grow yourself. You can be curious in terms of community development, community work, mentor. You can be a mentor outside of the organization. Because I wanted to lead people, I thought to myself, what is another way of leading, which is teaching. Teaching is where you have your own knowledge and you can influence someone else. If I cannot teach someone what is change management for myself, do I really know it? How do I make something so complex and make it so simple? So instead of doing it in the organization where I didn't think there was any opportunities, I then went on to say, how can I teach? I sent out my resume for different colleges and different universities. I learned how to speak in public. I gained feedback from different mentors, different friends, different types of individuals. So people in pharmaceutical companies, people in the medical companies,
Mm,
completely different from where I was to say, does change make sense to you? When I articulate change management, does that make sense to you? Because the best way to articulate something is from a completely different audience.
mm,
And if they can resonate and if they can understand, I said, okay, now I can actually influence people because I've influenced a completely different industry. So I would tell someone if you don't have the opportunity within your organization, look for it somewhere else. Whether it's a volunteer, like I said, or teaching or public speaking, or even LinkedIn, you can start becoming an influencer of change management, right? Creating stories on your LinkedIn post. What makes sense to you? How does that
mm,
resonate to you? So you don't have to be a change manager, but you can read books, listen to your lovely podcasts and audios, get those things in mind. You can start writing stories on your LinkedIn posts, website, blogs, what makes sense to you. And that's
mm.
how you can start one step at a time.
I'm glad you got to share that story with us. It's a very good example of thinking outside of the box because it's easy for people to think, I don't have the opportunity. I'm not in an organization that has change management, but you've just shared a great example with us of how you can color outside of the box to still get to where it is that you need to. So still on curiosity, because curiosity is one of my favorite
Absolutely.
things. I love curiosity. I love the power of curiosity. How do you use curiosity in leading and managing change?
That's a big one. And I'll start with leadership, curiosity. Oftentimes, when I talk to different leaders, I'm curious to say, what exactly are you trying to accomplish? Yes, you have a product. I get that. But what is it that's not measurable that you want to accomplish? And that can look completely different things. That could be, I want my team to feel valued, very high level. It could also be, I want to improve performance metrics. I want to improve adoption in the tools and technology or what it is that they're doing. So I gained that by listening. And one thing I try not to do is challenge a leader's ego. And what I mean by that is I know change management in and out. And I can say, this is the best way. This is the best way to storytell. This is my best strategy. But they might completely disagree with how you want to lead
Mm,
the change. And I said, okay, let's come together. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? And how do you, I think I can make that happen? and we work and we collaborate, and it stems from curiosity because I am listening to what it is that they want, and often find that what they say and what they mean, completely two different things. Completely two different things. That's one thing. The other thing I also find is once you gain their trust, they like to delegate. I have yet to find someone who just wants to take on every single thing. People are busy.
Yeah.
People, once you build credibility and you learn how to influence them, and when I say influence is co-collaborate with them, because when you
Mm.
co-collaborate and you build credibility, that's how you influence people. Influence is not just, I'm telling you because I'm smart and I have this degree and have PSI. No, influence can say, I am here to make your life easier.
Mm.
I am here so you can go focus on other things while I tackle this person who's resistant or this $50 million project for you. Because I'm curious to say, I go in to say, I don't know anything. Tell me
Yes.
what it is that you want. I learn and I listen and then I collaborate. And one thing I also want to add is when you have leaders or middle managers, use their team to help you influence the person. Sometimes it does not have to be one on one. It can feel like a battle, when you always have to go back and forth and argue. No, 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 no. You can use their team that they trust to say, for example, if I'm talking to Bob and I know Bob trusts Tom, John, and Susan, I would also show Tom, Susan, and I forgot the person I said, but Tom, Susan, and the other person my plan, get their buy-in and say, what does Tom like? How has he done that before? What matters to him? That's curiosity.
Mm.
Understanding and listening. You help them help you gain,
Yes.
gain buy-in and then help them execute your strategy. And that goes down for various levels too. It's the same principle. What matters to you? And just let them talk. I always say change management is psychology in a business suit. You just have to listen and you just have to let people talk sometimes.
Yeah, you raised so many things there from listening, asking questions, wanting to help. When you start with the person, everybody likes to feel valued, right? So once you put them at the center of it, and what I like to say, make them the hero in the story and make it about them,
Mhm.
you start to see a shift. And then you said something that I love as well, which is making their lives easier. If you come in and you want to make somebody's lives easier, I bet you 9 times out of 10, most people want their lives to be easier. When they feel it's going to be more work, it just feels, take this away from me. But like you said, when you get curious, when you're asking the right questions, and then you know how best to support them and how best to bring some level of alignment. And you also spoke about the co-creating and co-collaborating. It makes life a little easier. We've spoken about the fun stuff when it could go right. I usually like to say, change management, change managers, change leaders. We must be gluttons for punishment because change can be very emotional. You told me a little bit about what you love most, perhaps about change management, that's supporting and helping people through the journey. Can you share a moment or project that made you question or remind yourself, what am I doing this for? Why am I doing this?
That's every day sometimes. I say that with all jokes aside because it's a people industry, and with people comes personality. So while I enjoy change management, sometimes I don't enjoy the people. And I'll be completely honest with you. But I have to remind myself that people bring outside things to work. You may not see it, but it can
Yes.
come in terms of their mindset, comes with exhaustion, burnout, family illness, divorce, whatever it is people are going through, they bring it. And that is not the fun side of change because you are also not dealing with the project. You're just dealing with human energy. And I
Mm.
am the type of person where I can sense energy. And I can sense when someone is having a bad day, and I have to say, you know what? This has nothing to do with me. This is what they're going through, but I have to also listen and support and understand. This may not be the time to start talking about the change is coming. This is the time to say, are you okay? Talk to me. And I've had people who've actually cried to me. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking to myself, it's just this project. But I'm thinking to myself, this has nothing to do with what their experience. This could also just be because, say, for example, they're buying something expensive or they have to travel and they need the money for something and they fear that they might lose their job. There's a lot of layoffs happening too. So people are just having anxiety and going through mental health challenges that impact how they feel, how they work, how they receive information too.
Yes,
So
that's
you
key,
could
how they're
have,
receiving it.
right, how they receive it is very important because you can have the best strategy and the best communication plan, but how are they receiving the information through their own experience, through their own culture, through their own mindset, through their own
Mm.
mental health? No one teaches you any of that. I have yet to see that in a lot of the books and a lot of the pro-size courses. How do they receive it through their own emotional need and fear? So when you say, have I ever gone through the negatives and has there been a project? That's every day. That's an everyday
It's
struggle.
like exactly why I say we must be gluttons for punishment, because if we're experiencing this every day, why would we want to put ourselves through it? But I suppose there's something you love about it. So what is it you enjoy most or love about change management?
The aha moments, like as Oprah
Mm,
would say, the aha moment where you see someone would say, this is not going to work. I hate this. Why are we doing this? We've always done this to, oh my God, thank God I did this. Right? This is
yes.
so simple to me. This is so easy to me. That
Mm,
to me is greatest satisfaction. The other thing I talked about earlier is having leaders to say, Etonia, just go do it. To me,
yes.
that just shows I've gained their trust. So when you have those little bite-sized compliments, I would say,
Yeah.
or recognition, I love that. The other thing I actually love is when you start to understand people and what it is that they like. And I'll give you an example. I'll change the name. Let's say I'm working with, give me a name here,
Yeah,
Bob.
I was going to say Bob, actually. The other name
Bob.
that you use.
Let's say I'm working with Bob. I know Bob loves to be the face. He loves to present. He loves the spotlight. And I would say, Bob, you know what? We've worked on this together. You present it. It's fine. You can
Mhm.
see Bob shining. And you can see Bob just delivering it because he wants to practice his presentation skills or something. To me, that gives me satisfaction because A, I've put my ego aside to say, you know what? I did this work too. But Bob gives me the credit. Bob delivered the presentation. Bob is enhancing his skill sets. Bob now wants to even partner up with me more because I've given him that opportunity. So all these things when you learn and you can work with someone who is very data driven and say, Susie, can you help me with this metrics? Can you put this in the chart? And she just loves it. That's where that co-collaboration comes. You're understanding people's skill sets, you're understanding their strength, what they want, and you work together as a team. Not them knowing that they are my change champions. They're helping me, right? So that challenge of, okay, you know what, every day to struggle, you have to learn. Sometimes you argue, sometimes you fight. But when you start to work together and you're helping people and you're gaining adoption through co-collaboration too, it honestly makes the best team and it makes the best work environment as well.
What if Bob doesn't come back and give you that acknowledgement? When I say acknowledgement, you say, "Oh, Bob, go do the presentation," and he gives you no credit for it, because few people experience that in the workplace. You've worked on something together, somebody wants to take all of the glory. So what if Bob is not giving you the credit?
Oh, one thing I do for sure, I always set expectation. That's one thing I do. So yeah, they may not, but I always say, Bob, if you're going to present, I would love for you to say this, 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 and this. Etonia worked on this, blah, blah, blah. Because
Mm.
it's Bob's interest to say, Etonia is doing such a good thing. Etonia is putting me in front of leaders. Why would I want to mess that up and burn bridges when Etonia is giving me this limelight, right? So that's one thing. If Bob does not do that, I have the conversation. As much as I am kind, I am also very tough and strict to say, Bob, next time, I would love if you could do this. I
Mm.
am helping you with this, this, and this. I know how much you appreciate presenting. I know how much you want visibility. I am doing that. But in return, because you and I have worked together for the past 2 months on this, it would be really helpful if you could say, Etonia supported me with this. You're
Wow.
very strict, very calm, but you're setting an expectation because at the same time, you don't want to be a pushover. You also want to be respected in the work that you have done. The other thing I also do after the presentation, because say I work with leadership, I would ask them, how do you feel about the presentation that Bob presented? Bob and I have been working hard, so I hope you like that. So I still advocate for myself. Absolutely. I let Bob shine, but then I would follow up with, how did you find that presentation? Bob and I have worked so hard on this. Did you like that? What would
Mm.
you say we should work on? We should work on, not
Mm.
we should work on for the next time. Is there anything else you would like to see in the next call on the next thing? So I do a pulse check. Bob can shine, but I'm shining in the backlight too.
You know what? This is just so interesting. I want to dig into it because I've heard conversations, people talk about the credit being taken and people struggle with that. What if it's your boss, a manager that takes all the credit, doesn't allow you shine? So this is Bob, your change champion, maybe your colleague. What if it's a manager, a leader?
I kid you not, I struggle with that. And I say I struggle with that because they affect your performance too. So you also don't want to rub them off the wrong way. But one thing I also do is in every quarter, so for us it's quarter, you set your objective. You say, hey, I want to achieve this, 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 and this. This is your KPI or OKR, whatever it is. You go to your manager and you say, what is it that you would like to see for my OKR? Set that alignment. I always ask this question, is there anything at night that keeps you up? I
Mm,
ask them that because what I want to do is to establish trust. You are helping me with this, but I'm also helping you with
mm,
your own goals. And I try to do that to establish that relationship of mutual benefit. Sometimes manager pours into us, but I also want to pour into them. What is it that they want to do? And I've had that before where a manager takes credit for something that I did. But that's fine because I knew at the end of the day, she was helping me. She approved all my trainings. She had me go to conferences. She said, Etonia, take a day off, have a loo time. Whenever I needed back in someone to fight for me in meetings, she fought harder than I thought she would fight. So even if she took credit for one thing, I
mm,
try not to let that one thing overshadow
mm,
all the
mm,
5 things that she's been doing. And sometimes we get caught up on, I did this and she took credit.
mm.
Sometimes it's unintentional. But I also say, hey, like I noticed that you said this. Is there anything I can do to increase my visibility? Because
Mm.
I would have loved to have some spotlight. I would like to present. Can we present together for the next time? Because I want to increase my presentation skills. I want to understand how leadership talk in this. So I kind of pivoted to say, help me. This is now a goal of mine to become more
Mm.
visible. So instead of saying, how dare you take credit, I was like, in the next time, what can I do to get the visibility because I've worked hard? But again, like I said, I do not let one incident overshadow the 5 things that he or she has done for me. And that has happened. And when I tell you in the past, I've had incredible managers because I was honest. One thing about me that you will hear, I am very honest and I'm very straightforward to say, please, next time, I would love the opportunity, blah, 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 blah. Like I said, they are so busy, they're battling so many things. It wasn't even a thought. Like,
Exactly. And that's what we need to learn because we sometimes take some of these things personal. Even when it comes to leading and managing change, it's easy to take somebody's feelings personal. But like you said earlier, they may be dealing with an issue at home. They may be anxious about some other situation. They might be going through their own crisis. Life is happening to them in one way or the other. So being a change leader or change manager, it's about learning not to take some of these things very personal.
absolutely.
But taking a measured approach, which is what I'm hearing from what it is that you're saying, taking a very measured, open-minded approach to how you deal with the situation. It's not about sweeping it under the carpet, but it's about bringing the situation to light and just looking for ways to deal with it. But kudos to you. Not everybody would be that measured about it, and not everybody would give benefit of doubt when it comes to dealing with that. When we look at today's environment, what would you say it means to lead and manage change, especially with how fast things are evolving, how disruptive things may be? Has your approach evolved in the last few years? Is it the same? What are you doing different, and what is still the same?
Oh, it's completely different. In today's environment, it's chaos. It's chaos because I would always say, like, after COVID, things changed.
Mm,
Things are very fast, they are chaotic. AI is coming. People are scared about that as well, or excited about that as well. And we hear this term agile. Agile, it's always changing. It's no longer waterfall. And I've been in projects where the dates can change 5 times in 1 week. The
mhm,
scope can change and get bigger and smaller because funding has changed too. There has been layoffs. So now people are scrambling for resources as well. So no change project is ever really the same because things, the variables around you change. So you have to change. That plan that you had last week, it's no longer a plan. It's now a brainstorming idea.
that plan they insisted on you having?
That plan is no longer a plan. I always say now, a plan is like a guidebook. It guides you. You can't always just be so rigorous and stick
Yes.
to it because a leader might change and say, you know what? I don't think we like this. You might have a pulse result that says people are more concerned about this, but you want to communicate about why. You
Mm.
have to rejig whatever it is that you want to do. So
Adaptability.
that is my number one thing, and resilience too. I told you I grew up in a war zone, so you have no idea what's coming your
I,
way.
exactly. Like you said, it's that resilience where, first of all, you're not taking things personal. Resilience to change. Things are always changing. It's going to change. The ability to just quickly adapt with how it's changing. It just keeps you more relevant. Just keep it moving. What do we need to do,
And it's hard
to make it
sometimes
happen?
too. And I'll be honest, there are times where I've lost sleep and I was like, what am I doing wrong? Why isn't this not working? Why is this not
Mm,
sticking? And you just have to go back to the drawing board to say, you know what? I have to start from scratch. I have to pivot and turn because now you have leaders who are probably arguing with each other too. You have people who are not adapting, and
mm,
you are just in the middle of a crossfire of like 5 departments and 5 different groups. And you have to think to myself, this is too much.
mm,
I have to take a step back. I have to go for a walk. I have to clear my mind and come back to it because there's so much chaos happening. And now I
mm.
have to rely on other people because my time is also limited to say, I need help. I
Yeah.
need you to take this on. I
Mm.
need you to step out of the way. You're bothering me. So you have to be honest with yourself to ask your manager, can I brainstorm with you? And I am very good at that. I would ask for my one-on-one, I am having a challenge here. Can I just brainstorm with you? This is what I'm thinking, and use them
Mm,
as a sounding board because you also want their feedback too, right? And sometimes we always think, I don't want to say that. I don't want to feel inferior. No, that's actually proven leadership to say, I don't know. I
mm,
need help. Here's what I'm thinking. What do
mm.
you think? And sometimes you just really have to do that in the midst of chaos and things happening.
I love this conversation we're having in the sense that it's transparent. We're sharing, there's also that vulnerability because sometimes things are going in many directions when you're leading that change that it can feel a lot. It can make you question yourself sometimes to say,
Absolutely.
is it me? Is it the project? And some people are like Teflon. It bounces back. They're like, it's not about me. Some people have the ability to, good or bad, they just internalize everything. So I love that strategy you've shared about sometimes just take a step back, even if it means going for a walk, even if it means using somebody as a sounding board to speak it out and not just leave it in your mind running through. Because we talk about being emotionally intelligent as a change leader, or someone who is leading change. And it's not just only about being emotionally intelligent with your stakeholders, it's also about being emotionally intelligent with
With yourself.
yourself to manage those emotions. Based on some of the things we've discussed so far, and even your experience, not even what we've discussed so far, would you say being a change leader or being in change management, is it talent? Is it gift? Can it be learned?
It's a combination of all. It's a
So without gift
combination.
or talent, can someone just learn to be a change manager?
I think you need to have interest. I think that's like the number one thing. So let's break down the talent, gift, and what was the last one? Skill?
Learned.
Learned. Okay. What do you define as talent?
Similar to gifting, it comes to you naturally. You naturally may be a people's person. You naturally may want to be able to help somebody to do something. Those are some of the things that light you up. The ability to help that person to do something, the ability to help somebody
Yeah.
along the journey to get their aha moments.
I love this question. And let me just challenge you by saying, in that aspect of talents, that's just being a good human being. Being a good human being is just how can I help people? If you cannot even do that, then I would say don't go into change management. It's just like, how can I help someone do better? How can I help someone in their rough day? How can I help someone understand this? So whether you're a parent, a friend, a sister, whoever, that's the basic thing. When I wake up in the morning, I actually forget change management. I always say, how can I put a smile in someone's face today? I really do. And that's where I buy coffee. I write a text to my friends. I call them. I listen to all their stories. That is just who I am. So yes, if you are naturally that, change management can be for you. If you can't sing and you take so many singing lessons, I will never be a Beyonce. I will never in my life
So
because
maybe that's a good example of what talent is, right?
that exactly. Can I hold a tune? Absolutely. Would you pay for me? You will probably not, right? So I can say I'm talented, but is it what people would want? And that's a different question. And the answer is probably not, right? So
Mm,
if you're impatient and you're self-centered, and if you don't have the interest of listening and empathizing with people, and you just more data-driven and here it is, I don't care, change management is not for you. Now, with that said, even Beyonce takes vocal lessons. Even the best athletes go and train. Even the best doctors still get certification and try. And that's where all the certification comes. That's where you meet with your fellow change management professionals. You listen, you learn, you evolve, and you grow. Because if you are stuck at the same position and the same mindset and you're not growing your mind, even the best change management person can fall short because
mm,
things are changing around you, right? So
mm,
you also have to grow with the change around you to help your individuals and help your colleagues and help leaders adapt to change as well. So you
mm.
definitely have to gain skill sets, even with your natural talent, I would say.
Yes. You use the best analogy, which is singing. So some things will come naturally to you. Some things around change management may come naturally to you, being sensitive to people's emotions, wanting to listen, even maybe storytelling, leadership. Some people are natural leaders. So some of those things come naturally, but it doesn't stop at the natural bit. There's the learned bits that you have to layer on top to be able to get better at those skills. What I like to say is the person with talent may be at a 7 and 8, natural talent. And the person without talent but has decided to learn can maybe get to that person with like 6, 7 or something along those lines. But the person who has talent and decides to learn will be at maybe a 10 level, above 10 level.
Absolutely.
You can take it to the next level. You can become a Beyonce in what it is that you're doing. There's only so far you can go without natural talent.
But can I also just add this though? This might be thought-provoking, but I see change management as a industry rather than a job title. What I mean by that is we say talent can be helping people, empathizing with people. That's one aspect of change management. There's also the data aspect of change management.
Yes.
The communication side of change
Mm-hmm.
management, influencing people is a change management, the metrics, how you present. So if you are not a 10 at empathizing with people, you can still do change management. You just
Yes.
might have to do the data side of change management, the
Mm-hmm.
measurement part, the sustainability part, the technology part, right? So when I say, can you have talent in change management? We need to understand what are the different competencies of change management, where you are skilled at, and then use the people around you who are skilled at different things to connect the dot. I'll tell you, am I the most data-oriented change manager? No. But am I the leading in strategy and seeing the bigger picture and how it influenced people and connecting the dot? Absolutely. But that's when I rely on the data change person and work with that person. So change management, you can have talent in different things. It's just a matter of identifying and gravitating to what exactly in change management, because it's huge. It's so big. There's change management in anything, really.
I remember a leader asking me the question, very senior executive. They said to me, can empathy be learned? My response to them was that yes, actually, it's better to have learned empathy than to have natural empathy for
That's
people.
interesting.
If you've ever read this book, it's the bias against empathy because when you have compassionate empathy, you can be slightly biased. So right now you feel an emotion somebody's feeling because you can relate to them, you're compassionate to them, maybe because this person is a mom and I'm a mom as well, so I have natural empathy. But when you have cognitive empathy, that's more where you're being intentional about having empathy for someone. It's no longer about just because I can empathize with this person because I know how they feel because I'm a mom or I'm an athlete or because I'm a teacher or because I'm a project manager. Now you're applying cognitive empathy, regardless of whether I know what it means to be a mom or a teacher or an athlete. Regardless, I'm choosing to be empathetic towards this person. And then it works better. There's a book titled The Case Against Empathy because empathy can have its downsides as well. So when you're more intentional about how you use empathy as a tool, then there's more benefits. I'm totally with you. There's obviously some things you will do naturally, just like some people are very good with numbers. They lean towards more maybe accounting or figures or investments. And some people are just good with more the emotional side of things and working with people and just finding that sweet spot and understanding where there may be gaps and where you want to fill those gaps makes all of the difference. One of the things that we will say that not just the change management industry is facing, the world as a whole is facing right now is AI and automation. It's slowly but surely and sometimes very quickly shaping the workplace in terms of how we do things. How do you see AI influencing change management? What should we be paying attention to as change leaders, change managers?
I currently use AI and Copilot to be specific, and he has made a world of difference. A communication that might have taken me an hour to write takes me now 5 minutes
Mm,
to write. And someone might say, it's cheating and you're not thinking. Okay, that's fine. What it helps me do is it simplifies my work, it spits out the information, and then I can go in and adjust it. I can go
mm,
in and give it a voice. Talk like a leader. Add more empathy to this.
mm,
Make it more strategic. This is not simple enough. Make it more simpler. So, something that I may not naturally know, it actually is helping me
mm,
craft my mind and craft my own skill set because now that I do it more often and I read it more often, I gain more knowledge in a different way.
mm,
That's how AI is helping me in a way. Has it been useful? Absolutely. Do I understand why people are worried about it? I can definitely understand because people are saying it might take jobs away. I would say it would restructure jobs because when Google came, it definitely changes things. We're not going to libraries anymore and looking at all these different books in our everyday life. Do we buy books and read it? Absolutely, it helps. But it's
yes.
in our everyday lives where every time we want to do something, I have to go get a library card. No. So I
Mm,
see AI as more so a helping mechanism more than anything. But what it does force me actually specifically is become more human. Because as
Mm,
I use AI and technology to do my everyday work, it gives me now time to understand my stakeholders. It gives me time to say, communication is done. That hour, that's now 15 minutes. Now I have 45 minutes to talk to someone else. I have 15 minutes to say, what do you think of this communication? Does it resonate with you? I have that extra 45 minutes to do something else. So it actually
yeah.
helps me more than anything. And it
Mm,
helps me becomes more human to say, I understand where the strategy is going. I understand it's giving me all these things, but I don't want to lose that human aspect. The AI is not going to tell me what Yvonne is thinking. I now have more time to examine what you're thinking, examine what you want, because a lot of times in my world, we're so booked and busy in meetings all day long. And we have to create summary notes. We have to go back and read
yes.
things. Just pop that transcript in AI, it spits everything out, and within 5 minutes, you have your summary notes. So now I have less time on summary notes and who needs to do what. It gives it to me, and now I have more time following up. I have more time collaborating. I have more time doing the things that connect you and I, where the technology can make things easier and simpler.
Mm. It's interesting and it's great that when I asked you the question about AI and change management, it wasn't about going directly into that AI change management automation tool, but it was about the work that AI lets you do, which is more human in the change management space. It's about how you're using it as a thinking partner. I use the word thinking partner, how you're using it as maybe an assistant or a thinking partner or collaborator to be able to do some of the work so that it frees up your time to do that very thing that everybody thinks AI is taking away from them
Yeah,
because everybody thinks it's taking away the human experience, but it's allowing you to be more human in your experience, which brings to bear what change management is all about. And one of the things when we think about the generative AI and we think about the world of prompts, you alluded to the prompts when you spoke about how you say act as a leader, act as someone with more empathy, act as a communication expert. That's all part of the prompts that we put in. But the use of those tools is as much what we put in is what we get out.
exactly.
Anybody who is familiar with the technology term, and I'm going to take us back a little bit, is garbage in, garbage out, right? So the information you put in, the questions you're asking, and how you use that information is what will give you the best information or the least information out of it. Another great example you brought to bear was around with that time you're saving, you're spending with people to learn more about them, to learn about what their needs are. You're getting more context specific now when you use the AI because you have a better of understanding of this change situation to be able to leverage AI to give you a most appropriate answer or scenario plans or solution because you have more information and more understanding of your stakeholders and more understanding of the change and what they're going through. The question though is, are people really using these tools in the way that you're saying, or are leaders or organizations allowing people to use it in this way? Because you see a lot of layoffs, right? And they're saying, hey, Etonia just saved some more time now that she's using Copilot. That means she has more time. And then they pilot on more work on that person. Or they now say, oh, before we needed three change managers on this. Because we're using AI now, we don't need three change managers. We need one change manager on this. And then you don't have the time to do all that beautiful work and critical work you can do, which is connect more with your stakeholders. That the benefit is freeing up people's time to be able to do deeper work and better work and increasing their capacity to do those things they couldn't do? Or are they seeing that AI is reducing work in one area and now they're piling more work on that person because they feel, okay, you're using AI now, so that means you have more capacity. So they're not really letting you use that new times or that extra capacity to do deeper and better work in connecting with your stakeholders.
I think it's a bit of both, but I think it's absolutely up to the leadership how they take that information. So, what I mean by that is, yes, it can free up a task that I'm
Mm,
doing, but it also means that I am more productive but that makes me more creative in other aspects. When I use the example of, okay, it helps me with all this communication, but now I can use that time to become a better storyteller, to
Mm,
present the information in a more unique, powerful PowerPoint way. So does it reduce my time overall? No, it's still the same time. I'm just reshifting my focus. So instead of taking 5 hours to do a communication and 5 minutes to just put it on a PowerPoint, now I'm taking 5 minutes in communication and now becoming a better storyteller. So the
yeah.
time on average is still the 1 hour, but it's just where I shift my focus can also be different. If companies are saying, well, we don't need three change managers, now we only need one, I would always ask the leader, why is that? And if the answer is, well, Etonia can do everything, well, Etonia can also be burnt out. Etonia can also not have time to do all these communications and all this strategy work and all that, which AI may not be able to be in that room and give you the answers. So you still need Etonia to do the strategy work, the influence work, the storytelling work, the communication work, and the training work. AI in today's world, like let's say today's what I'm doing, AI can help me with the two things, but I still need to do the three things.
It can help you speed the work. It doesn't replace the work.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
exactly.
replace the work. It
Yeah,
speeds the work so you can do better, but sometimes
exactly.
it doesn't take away your work.
No doubt about it, AI will replace some jobs, just like automation. When we had cars come in, it took over the horse and the buggy and all of those things. There are some jobs it will replace and it will introduce new jobs. But it's important, I believe, for the leaders, the organizations who are making the decisions about bringing in AI to understand what the capabilities are, what it can do, how it supports the work people are doing, still understanding the work. With any change that is coming, we need to probably do some assessment of it, understand the impact of what that change is, and help the organization along in strategizing in terms of how best to effectively implement that change. It's not one and done. I saw something the other day. Oh, XYZ is laying off 1,500 people because they're doing more investments in AI. Those headlines are not the best headlines, I would say, for staff and teams to listen to. It just creates some level of anxiety. So when someone as a change manager comes in and says, I want to implement AI, the first thing they think is, how does this impact my job? All kinds of things.
People are scared. People are scared, but at the same time, they have not even used it yet.
Exactly.
They have not used it. And I always ask, have you even used ChatGPT? No. Have you used Copilot? No. Have you used
No,
this? No.
no.
What are you scared about? It's
And this
actually
is
going to
what
help your work.
this is where people need to get educated and empowered in terms of taking ownership of their own journey when it comes to all of the changes that are taking place, regardless of what your organization may be doing. It's also important for you with a change mindset to be able to think, how can I be at the forefront of this? What's happening? What's new? I have two questions I want us to round up on.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I'm loving this.
One of the questions I love to ask all of my guests is, we're experiencing unprecedented changes and change like we haven't seen before, the speed, the amount of change. On a personal level, how are you feeling about the current state of the world right now?
Outside of change management, just the world in general.
The world in general. There's so much change going on.
This is a very loaded question. How do I feel? Let's start by saying this. The world is chaotic, complex, and it's scary. But the world is also what you think of it.
Mm,
And when I say what you think of it is if you're happy, if you're grounded, you've been meditating, it does not matter what's going on the outside, you are just at peace. So for me, how I feel, I'm at peace
mm,
because I know that whatever comes through my way, I can handle it.
mm,
So how I feel about the world, I'm excited. I'm
mm,
excited to see what I can do to influence the world. I'm
mm.
excited to see how I can change within the world. So I'm excited and I'm at peace.
Okay, now I love that. And one last question I want to leave you with. It could be along the lines of what you want people to take away from this conversation, and it could be what you're thinking about the future. Help me finish this sentence. The
Mhm.
future of change leadership is,
You. It's you. And I'll
Mhm.
give you another word. It's ugly. However, it never stops changing and it can be beautiful. But I
Mhm.
would say the future is you. You are the change. What you
Mhm.
think is what you create. If you think it's going to be beautiful, you look for ways for it to be beautiful. If you
Mhm.
think it's going to be a world of empathy, it starts with you. You lead with empathy. If you
Mhm.
think it's going to be ugly and chaotic and people are fighting, it starts with you because that's your mindset, right? So
Yes.
it starts with you.
Love that. I really do love that. Thank you so much, Etonia, for joining
Thank
us
you for
on the
having me.
conversation. It's been a great conversation, and I'm
Yeah,
glad we got the chance to connect some more. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Change Leadership Conversations. Be sure to hit the follow button, leave us a review, and share this podcast with your team or fellow change leaders because leading change is better when we do it together.